Let's talk about Richard Grayson in my DC cinematic universe. Our little baby boy gets his start in Haley's Circus. He's a member of the Flying Graysons, a famous family of acrobats, and his uncle is Boston Brand, the Dead Man, the most famous acrobat in the circus. Boston and his sister Mary also came from a family of acrobats that got to know the Graysons very, very well, and Mary eventually married into the Flying Grayson family, and they would maintain that role, and Boston would develop his own brand, the Dead Man, and he would do death-defying stunts, never using a safety net. And yes, this means that Boston Brand, just like Mary Grayson, would be half Romani, maintaining Dick Grayson's quarter Romani status. I am not whitewashing Dick Grayson, I'm keeping him a quarter Romani. Dick's life is going great, he really admires his uncle, he loves his family, he loves acrobatics in general. His dream is to become an Olympic gymnast. And then tragedy strikes. His family is killed because Haley's Circus didn't pay protection money to Tony Zuko. Their equipment was sabotaged. The flying trapeze itself comes loose and all three acrobats fall to the ground. Dick Grayson had to watch in horror as his mom, his dad, and his uncle died. He was not allowed to take part because he was only 8 at the time, and they would not allow him to do any stunts without a safety net. But Boston only did stunts without a safety net. And that guilt of, because he was the one who insisted for no safety net, that is going to follow my version of Dead Man throughout the movies. He carries that guilt. He blames himself. But at Haley's Circus that night was Bruce Wayne. This was one of his events that he was a charitable sponsor for, so he had to make a public appearance. And when he saw this happen, he saw a look in this boy's eyes, a look he knew all too well. This boy wouldn't stop until he got justice for his family. And because Bruce knew the damage that sort of path could have on a kid, Bruce adopted this guy immediately, and within 1 week after the murder of the Graysons, Bruce found Tony Zuko and delivered him to Dick Grayson. Bruce throws the bloodied, beaten, tied, gagged, and blindfolded Tony Zuko and his 2 men in front of Dick Grayson, and he gives this boy the choice on whether or not to kill them or let them live. Now, in that moment in my DC Cinematic Universe, Batman's being completely serious. Batman is willing to kill Tony Zuko in that moment because he is boiling over with PTSD right now. This is way too similar to his parents' murder, and he wants to give this boy the closure that he wanted. But in this moment, Dick Grayson thinks Batman is testing him. It was just revealed that the dude who adopted him a week ago is secretly Batman. This kid is convinced that this is a test to see if he has what it takes to be a superhero. So this kid says, no, heroes don't kill. And he has Batman take Tony Zuko and his men to the police. Yes, in my DC Cinematic Universe, this kid is responsible for Batman's no-kill rule. Now, my Batman doesn't kill anyone before that, but it was something he'd be willing to do under extreme circumstances. But this kid removes those circumstances. This kid shows Batman what a real hero should be, and Batman realizes he needs to make sure that this kid stays better than him. And that's why Dick Grayson doesn't grow up to be an edgelord piece of shit. He's well-adjusted and nice and happy. He is everything that Bruce Wayne is not because Bruce made sure to take care of this kid. He eventually suits up and becomes a sidekick to Batman, heading out into the field with him, and he calls himself Robin because just before his mom died, her plan was to rebrand the Flying Graysons into something that could also bring Boston into it, and they were going to be bird-themed acrobats, and Dick's name was going to be Robin. And even that is inspired by a little thing I came up with, which is on the day she found out she was pregnant, a robin landed on her hand. It landed on her hand, it flew away, and after that is when she got the positive pregnancy test. And so she always called Dick her little Robin. And that's why Dick Grayson calls himself that. It's paying respects to his mom. But after a couple of years of field work being Bruce's sidekick, a little bit of tension starts forming between Dick and Bruce, especially after Dick's girlfriend, Barbara Gordon, finds out their secret identities. Dick and Barbara meet during gymnastics at Gotham High. They're both the star members of the team. They eventually started hanging out way more, and then they eventually fell in love and started dating each other. After she figured out that Bruce and Dick were Batman and Robin, she became a superhero in her own right, calling herself Batgirl, and Batman viewed this as a betrayal of trust. because this information comes to light just after Batman discovered who killed his parents and Joe Chill and that he's still out there. So Batman's on a little bit of a revenge kick right now, and this dude's girlfriend finding out that they're Batman and Robin and then calling herself Batgirl was just something that he couldn't stand. And then especially after meeting Superman and hearing the tale of the Nightwing and Flamebird of Krypton, Dick realizes he might have to grow out of Batman's shadow. And so inspired by that story that Superman told him, he decides to become his own vigilante, Nightwing. This is a costume he first dons in my second Batman movie, and he wears it for all the subsequent Batman movies, Justice League movies, and Teen Titans movies. He becomes Nightwing, and then the mantle of Robin falls to his younger adoptive brother, Jason Todd. And after Batman founds Titans Academy after the events of Justice League Public Enemies, this dude leaps at the chance to mentor these kids because as essentially the first ever sidekick in the superhero game, this dude knows the biz better than anyone. And then while attending Titans Academy, he finds out about the metahuman teen trafficking ring that the Justice League found out about. But they can't do anything about it, because if the Justice League moves on this ring, all that happens is they bust one cell of it. The rest of the trafficking network figures this out, they go deeper into hiding. But Dick figures if they can infiltrate this ring, if they can sell some metahuman kids into this ring and track just how far it spreads around the globe, then they can figure out exactly who is running this thing, how far this web goes, and where to strike to shut down the whole thing in one fell swoop. Batman and the rest of the Justice League tell him he cannot do this. It is too much of a risk. And so Dick Grayson takes this into his own hands. He approaches the students of Titans Academy, tells them about this situation, and the students decide, yes, they need to stop this. Screw the League, screw Batman. There are kids out there that need help immediately in a job that only kids can do. And so founded by Nightwing, this team calling themselves the Titans infiltrate and take down the metahuman teen trafficking ring.